The Arcane Bear. We haven't done a live show in a while, so I'm pretty excited to do this. Today we're going to be going over Bitcoin, Dash, and Digibyte. Hopefully the live stream is going to go smoothly here. I'm assuming the internet is going well. So if it is and everything's going smoothly, smash that like button. It helps us and helps everyone else down the stream find what they're looking for. We're going to dive into the charts here. So let's good. Everything's looking green. Everything's going smooth. As far as I can tell, we'll dive in. So if we take a look here with, we're going to dive into TradingView. We've actually started using TradingView a bit more often now, just because they do offer a lot of the USD pairs as well, which makes it easy to flip back and forth between some of the tokens to have a different perspective aside from just BTC, because we do know that Bitcoin is fluctuating. So now that we've broken out, once we broke out past the $600 mark, which we had at previous points of resistance, in my mind, it meant that we were going to return to this $7,500 mark. So we're still looking for that before a kiss and then a retracement down to lower lows here, maybe possibly 5,500. That is one area I suspected we would retest. If we do break through this, that's down. They're actually one of the people that generally bears are good at doing and what harder to get. The bears are generally 500, 8,600 before I suspected that we were in a bull market. That's obviously okay, good. I just changed the stream up. The quality should be lower, but hopefully it should be streaming fine. It's always the internet out here is a little difficult, but what I wanted to mention and go back towards was here. Hopefully this is all working out, everyone. I apologize if the stream is delayed or not working properly. I have worked to fix that. Okay, Rory says we're fine. I'm going to go with the we're fine comment. And I'll also thank you for the Poseidon Lou dropped in a super chat for $10. That's a cool new feature. Actually, I'll save that for the end. But YouTube's been dropping a bunch of new features. So to get back into it here, unless Bitcoin breaks out past this $7,600 line and then past 8,500, I do suspect we are still in the bear market. As I had said in the previous video, I suspect we are in that bear market probably till mid-November, early December. But if we break out past that, this is obviously a change of tides, something that we hadn't yet seen. So as I flip the charts back over here, as you can see, if we don't break out past the $7,400 line, which is where the trend currently is, I mean, you could lift it a little bit and you see that there's some fluctuation. I went with this first line here. I thought there was a little bit too much hype going back in at around 12,000, so I just cut it off. But this $7,400 mark, I suspect a retracement down to 5,500 before doing it one more time at around 68, and then eventually breaking out on the upward side. Really, a real confirmation was going to be this $10,000 mark past the 0.5 of the Fibonacci extension and retracement, and then secondarily again up here at around $13,300, because these are all levels of what I'll call affirmation, basically. So we had seen these before. For those of you that have been Bear family members for a long time, we appreciate the support. Remember to smash that thumbs up, subscribe if you're new to the channel, join the Telegram channel in the links below as well. But we are often looking at here well, first off, pattern recognition is one of the greatest assets that you can have, and it's something that you're born with, right? We're all born with that innate ability to take patterns and look at them over time based off of, I mean, it's how you recognize your mother and father. It's why baby ducks know that their fathers and mothers are supposed to be ducks, although they can be tricked into thinking a giraffe is also their parents because it's the first thing they see. That innate sensory perception says the first pattern you see, that's likely your parents, and they go with it. And so it's a very deeply ingrained pattern recognition system that we have, and it's very, very powerful. So what we're looking at here for Bitcoin is this just learning how to recognize patterns and then not emotionally make decisions. So I do suspect we're going to go lower. Now that's a good thing, because that means if and I'm not going to do this with Bitcoin because I don't trade Bitcoin the same way, although that $20,000 high, the only thing I took profits into was actually cheaper alternative digital assets, and that's what I've been doing. I've been on the best of days, because it's you just try to average your wins, which is if you're winning 60% of the time, you're losing 40% of the time, you're still coming out ahead of the game by a significant amount, which is important. But trying to limit the risk and your exposure, right? So when you see a token jump up like Bitcoin did, or for instance, let's take Digibyte last week versus Bitcoin. So we had mentioned that we were going to be entering Digibyte at around 380 Satoshi mark because it was the previous 382 low, and we had seen support there. So we bounced off that 382 mark nicely, which, there is still the downside negative that we could go to 236. So what I'm going to be looking to do is taking profits. And then when we did that earlier before, we took 100% gain here, and then we rebought back in at around I think we got most of it around 400 Satoshis. We are buying on Bittrex, and Bittrex is just crap lately. It's extremely illiquid. It's impossible to trade almost anything in volume on that exchange. I generally stray away from it. That's why a lot of people use Bittrex as a kind of a pump and dump platform, is because it is so illiquid. So anyways, I don't want to bash on Bittrex too much, as they do have some great tokens, but that small trading pool really drives prices quickly. So I try not to trade there at all unless I have to. Digibyte is one of those ones that I was trading on Bittrex at that time. Anyways, point of this story is I do suspect we're going to go to the 0.5 here, and then possibly the 618, which is where we saw the last high in Digibyte come out. So I'm going to be riding up to the 618 and taking profits there, unless, and this is a big unless, we see Bitcoin move into bull territory. Until then, I'm still bearish. We're still in that descending bearish wedge. Until we break that particular trend and sentiment, I don't suspect that anything is going to go too much past its all-time highs, although there are tokens that have done that. There are some crazy tokens Alley Cat and I had been speaking about in the background. So I know that's a little abstract, but let's take a look at Dash now too. Dash is so I've been becoming more and more confident in the proof of work blockchains, because they do provide a better store of value, at least in comparison. But let's see here. Let's go to the 4-hour chart. So with Dash here, we had seen there's been a lot of up and down momentum, obviously, in all these tokens, but Dash was at a very, very low point in Bitcoin terms compared to its previous highs, so much so that we dropped below the 236 of the previous furls of Dash. So this little 1-2, this 3-wave here, I'm going to be watching this closely, because Dash was already 10 times lower than its previous high in US dollar terms. So Dash hit a high at around $1,500 and is now at around 200 right now. So it's still around 8 times lower than its previous all-time high. This is important because I think we've neared a bottom for some of these tokens. And Digibyte and Dash are both proof of work blockchains, very similar to that of Bitcoin. Now, Litecoin is actually a proof of work blockchain as well. And I had held Litecoin for a while. We bought a bunch at 180, suspecting that we might see a trend reversal then. As soon as it broke that, we lost, I don't know, maybe 15% or 10% at around 1050. Sold all of the Litecoin back there, realizing that we're still in a very bearish market and will likely continue that bear market until November. So with that in mind, I've been trading very conservatively, if not just looking for value investments. And that's what I think Dash and Digibyte offer at those low terms, are value investments, where I'm not necessarily interested in trading them, but I do feel that in their lower format, they're more likely to have that value. Whereas an ERC20 token is still, a lot of these companies are working on proving the use case for why any of these tokens have value in the first part to begin with. Like, why these tokens have value is their ability to be used on a platform. So with that in mind, I think looking at proof of work blockchains for that value creation, which is what a proof of work blockchain does. Whereas in the ERC20 world, you're generally just printing a certain amount of tokens depending on the code that you're writing, and from there either trying to raise funds or building a business based around that token. Whereas the proof of work tokens are created through the hashing algorithms like Bitcoin's SHA-256, etc. And from there, I do suspect because of that, they have a lot more they have a lot more underlying value than the ERC20 tokens. So I would be a lot easier to hodl those. Whereas I still don't suggest hodling. I'll use Ladies and gentlemen, let's use any of the tokens, for example. For some of you that have been trading with us, we haven't made all of the perfect calls, but we've definitely been able to get in lows and take out at least somewhat of the highs. Obviously, everyone's going to give you flags like, oh, there's no such thing as technical analysis, but that's obviously BS. We've seen this work many, many times before. Obviously, it's not perfect. Nothing is, but it's a hell of a lot better than just hodling through some of these beautiful highs and then crashing down to the lows. So let's use ADA or Cardano as an example for this. So for those that were in the bear family, we started actually accumulating in early December on this second peak here. As soon as we saw this big one wave, we're like, cool, that was a nice one wave. These next three waves could be great. The one wave is actually categorized a little bit further before that. This is the 1, 3, and the 5 here in my opinion on the lower term. So we actually accumulated here because this looked like a nice big new one wave. We had a lot of momentum going into 2018 with Bitcoin around $20,000 too. So it was likely that we could bet on sentiments being positive in the other tokens as well. And lo and behold, bam, it shot up to over $1.30. We took a good chunk of the profits actually at this middle term value here. We missed the spike, not because we didn't chart it, because here, I'll show you, for example, if you take the Fibonacci extension and retracement, you drag it from here to here at the 1618, even down here, this is where I would have initially been looking to take profits. And anything that spiked through there. So the fact that you hit a 2618, this should be okay. So for anyone that's looking, that it does want to trade, anytime you see an extension in the 2618 or the 3618, those are times to take profits, and it's been noticeable in Bitcoin too. So if you go and you actually, let's see if we can, I don't want to ruin, we've had the same chart drawn here on Bitcoin for the last month and a half, and I don't want to change it because I like it. So I won't show you the extension retracements, but when we were charting originally back from, actually I can just draw it down here. When we were charting originally back here from the, where was it? Yeah, well, it was around the $1,000 range. We were charting down from here to here. See, the 4236 was around $12,000. So the fact that we went that high, this was astronomical. So you can miss out on profits. Or even from the $4,000 mark here, we saw the 4236 line extensions into the $20,000. So the fact that we are hitting 4236 extensions in any way, shape, or form should have been a very noticeable sign to take profits. Any of these areas along the ways were actually great ways to take profits, even to where we are going to now, which is the $7,500 area. Those are all great profit taking scenarios, and as we see, this is why. It's because there's so much fluctuation in these, so we have to remember that Bitcoin is actually in itself fairly illiquid as well, with only 21 million tokens ever on account by, I think, 2100 or something like this. I forget when the actual hashing algorithm ends. I'd have to double check that. But with that in mind, 21 million is not a whole lot of anything. I have friends that have made more money than that in single years through the companies that they build now. So we know that it's not that much, that a single person can do that. So at least in US dollar terms. Now in Bitcoin, the fact there's only 21 million of them means that they're liquid. So when there is a rush of emotion into these markets, we're going to see these dramatic and sharp price increases, which is, I actually do suspect we will still see. So if we're to take it as any of account that we might see a similar extension from the previous lows to where, based off the last high, let's see where that brings us. That would bring us pretty easily into the $72,000 range from the 4236, from the last high of $20,000 that we had. So it's very easy to see that Bitcoin could go to $80,000, and it could even happen by the year end, because the first move was so sharp and fast that if you were to consider that potentially that was just a wave 1 in Bitcoin, that we haven't seen a wave 3, and then you could hypothesize and speculate on that topic. So if we were to see a wave 3, which are generally more parabolic and faster happen, or their action speed is much quicker, we could move to $80,000 between the month from December, starting from a low, to mid-March. It might only take 3 months because the last one only took 6 months. I remember telling everyone to buy Bitcoin over all of 2016 and 17 out of the few $100 range. I wish I had started a YouTube channel then. It would have been very helpful if for anyone that was listening. But The point of the fact of the matter is we went from just a few $100s to $20,000 in around 9 months. So to think that we could go from $6,000 to $80,000 in 3 to 5 months is very likely. The math is sound, even though the timing might be off, because I'm not going to stipulate or even speculate that we'll be at $80,000 by March of next year. Well, we could, and it could happen extremely fast. Any of these waves could move very quickly, and it could go even further. It could go into extensions that we just don't make sense to us. But I think this 4236 line around $70,000 is something we will repeat, because we have now made that pattern once before. Anyways, we're going to leave that off for the rest of the day. Those are the 3 tokens, my sentiments, again, for the next few weeks. I know we hadn't done a live stream in a little while, so I was excited to do this so that we can answer any of your guys' questions and your thoughts as well. So now I'm going to jump into the stream here and take a look at any of your guys' questions that have you laid. I'm going to give another thank you to Poseidon for the super chat. He didn't even attach a question to it. He just gave us a tip, so I appreciate that. Obviously, we don't rely on YouTube for our revenue, but it is also it's nice to see a random paychecks show up. So I'm grateful for all of the support that we get here with the Bear family. A lot of the money is going to be respent on development, so we're going to be doing a sponsored review on next week, and the extra money that the channel makes from that is going to be spent on hiring a content creator and writer. So if you happen to be interested in writing in the blockchain space, if you have experience doing that, whether it's writing about technical analysis or the new development of tech, I would love to hear from you. So please email me, tiho@arcanebear.com. We are going to be taking resumes from writers, because I do want to make sure that our website stays up to date. And with all the video stuff that I've been so excited to do, it's almost impossible for me to do that. So I'd like to take on hiring someone to help keep up with content creation, because it is ridiculously important, and the fact that I didn't do it last year is saddening to me. I apologize for not being able to build some more of the infrastructure. We've got our new website going live next week as well, so take a look at that. We accept Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dash, and we're working on accepting a bunch of other tokens, as well as PayPal, obviously. You can buy Arcane Bear merch, so all that will be back online, and the Grizzly Bear Den might actually be being reopened over the next few months, as I'm in chats with some members of the Telegram channel, as well as Alley Cat, for potentially working on the creation of the newsletter, as well as the weekly and daily updates, something that I had a very difficult time doing while I was on the road doing conferences. So my goal right now is to bring in those people that can help on the written side of content creation. Anyways, we'll go from there. Let's take a look at some of the questions that you guys have. Are you still a very holder? So I exited every single ERC20 token I had when in around May. I made some statements when I was leaving Bali in Thailand that said I was not very confident in the rest of the market. I did hold on to Ethereum up until about $380 at that last support line, and I let go of everything there. Most of the time I make cryptic statements about what I'm doing, because this is not trading or investment advice. This is simply what I'm doing. So at best, it's information and education, and at the very worst, I aim to be entertainment, hopefully. So am I holding on to very? No. But do I think that this is a good time to potentially be re-entering a lot of the undervalued tokens? Yes, I think we're getting close. Now, it depends. If Bitcoin tests that $5,500 area again, I do suspect that most of the other digital alternative assets will be taken down with it as well. But the cryptocurrency market is wild, so I'm not making any bets on anything other than proof of work tokens right now and Bitcoin. So I've been sitting heavily in Bitcoin since May, and until I see confirmation that we've entered a new bull market, either in Bitcoin or some of the other alternative digital assets, like with Dash hitting its recent lows, Digibyte hitting that 380 Satoshi mark line, those were all accumulation areas for me. So I was accumulating, but not all at once. I still think we could go lower. So if Dash and Digibyte go lower, I will accumulate more, because I believe in the value sentiment of proof of work blockchains, Litecoin as well. There's a few others, Vertcoin, etc. Whereas Very is the Vader is meant to be used for almost as a stock market, and they've been working on it, but just in general, ERC20 tokens are going to take hits until the SEC decides whether they're securities or not. So any thoughts on Ethereum? Sure, let's take a look at Ethereum. It is one of our favorites. Actually, I'm just going to give you my thoughts on it. I'm not even going to chart it. I'm not going back into Ethereum for a little while. I'm going to tell you that. I'm not going to re-enter Ethereum for a little while. I do believe that there is still more bearish trends entering into Ethereum. So when I left at the $380 mark, there wasn't an idea to return until the SEC made up its mind around some of the other tokens, because token value is part of the ERC20 value creation. Is that Ethereum was being used to create a lot of these companies, and whether they're going to operate on the Ethereum blockchain or not was yet to be seen. But the fact that they were able to create these companies on Ethereum was giving it value. And the fact that you see all these large enterprise Fortune 500 companies building on the Ethereum blockchain, I do suspect that we will see that continue to grow. So I'll leave these charts open so that way if you guys do ask. So I will look at Ethereum. I'm not, why am I going to not do it? I'll look at Ethereum really quickly. So here's the last chart we had drawn from Ethereum, still there. The trend is still holding. If you draw this trend line even further down, this is why I was scared for Ethereum. This trend line that I was following had room for lower lows of into the hundreds of dollars or into the $100, $80 range, and that's too much downside risk for me. So even though we had a lot of positive sentiments in Ethereum, and I still do, the fact that we this head and shoulders broke down here, and it continues to break down, I don't have positive momentum for Ethereum in my mind. But again, none of this is trading advice. This is just what I've been looking at, what I've been doing, and why I've been doing it. So where were we at the 380 mark? Yeah, right here. When we broke through this line, I left Ethereum entirely. When we broke through this line here around the $380 mark, it was actually this last little bull where I was like, okay, screw it. If we're breaking this bull, I'm out of here. So this is why we do pattern recognition, is because here you see there is multiple highs on this area. So you saw high, 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 low, high, low. And so as soon as we broke through there, I decided to exit because there was a lot more room for downtrend, because there wasn't much holding us up until the $140 mark, $120 mark. So I'm not sitting in Ethereum. I do think Ethereum could be worth thousands and thousands of dollars per token still. But there's just too much downside risk in the very short term for me to want to HODL, as people like Bixweir recommend. I love, actually, by the way, I'll give a shout out to Bixweir and JSnip, as I do. I like what they produce. Not all of it. We obviously have disagreements. I'd love to chat with them about some of that sometimes, but it's not really my place. But as far as things with what Litecoin was doing, I exit positions when they are in downtrends as best as I can, because it's just more room for me to accumulate something that I think is oversold, like Digibyte or Dash at those particular moments. And then have less room for downside. Again, I just try to minimize risk in my investment portfolio, and still I'm sitting around 90% in Bitcoin with around 10%. So if you had 100 grand of an investment, that's an extra 5 grand for Digibyte and 5 grand into Dash. It's not a whole lot in there, but I'm looking for more confirmations before I really change mine. That was a long-winded answer. I hope I answered the question on Ethereum there. Let's take a look at your guys' other thoughts here too. Oh yeah, Michael Jones says thumbs up. Thanks. I appreciate that. Again, you guys, the more thumbs up you give, the more likely that other people later on down the stream can find this information. So if you're new to the Bear family, remember to subscribe. Please join the Telegram channel in the links below as well. We've got a lot of great people there that are always on the lookout for what's going on in the blockchain space, and we appreciate all their support. They're great people to chat with as well. So if you want, make sure you jump on the Telegram channel and give us those thumbs up too, because it does help the information in the YouTube algorithm actually find its way further down the stream. It says, Bitcoin Bank says, thank you for spending time with us. I love doing this. I haven't been live for a while, so I appreciate being able to jump online. We'll make this an extra long live stream today so that we can just chat with you guys for a little bit longer and answer more of your questions. I'm still holding Digibyte, thinking about selling it for Verge. I'm a big fan of Digibyte for a few specific reasons. I believe that they have more headroom to grow than a company like Bcash, for instance. So because of that value proposition for being a fast fungible currency, I do think Digibyte has room for even to the $10 side when they're sitting at, I think 20 cents or something, is a huge move when you see other proof of work tokens like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dash, Monero, all in the hundreds of dollars area. I do suspect Digibyte should go to at least to the $5 to $10. So there's a lot of room for upside in comparison. anyways, that's why I keep Digibyte as a strong hold, is because I think it's undervalued right now. As soon as it's overvalued, I'll sell it for something else. But in long-term investment, I would sit in Digibyte too. I wouldn't feel too scared, although Bitcoin is still one of the better bets, because it just has less room for downside. Downside in Bitcoin is zero, right? Whereas downside in everything else is zero. You can see those moves come in a lot faster. I don't suspect we'll see Bitcoin ever go to zero, ever now, right? Maybe in the past it could have happened, but I don't think it's at all possible now. Rory says, are futures or ETH futures launching soon? Yes, I do suspect that could be a massive run in the price as well, followed by a big drop. Now, again, remembering futures means you have the ability to short. And if you see a spike like that, for instance, if we could have shorted the Cardano spike, I would have shorted that every step of the way, because when you see highs like that, this should be a very stark realization that that's time to either take profit or short the heck out of those things. So when Bitcoin got to $20,000, that was a huge key point to short, or even Ethereum at 1,500. We saw downside to around 700, but when we broke that $800 to $700 range, it's like, oh, we're entering dangerous territory. Anyways. Just got into XRP. I don't like XRP, will not hold XRP, and I never will. Even though one of my friends was the original founder of the company before they went on a blockchain, we won't hold them. We'll never hold. Even though, you can make money, but sometimes we invest off the sentiments we have instead of just pure value on the table, which is probably not the best thing, but I don't really need, like, a bunch of extra money in my life isn't going to make a difference right now. I do this because I like to do it, not necessarily because I need it. That's a different sentiment. Bitcoin Bank says, I bought Digibyte not because it was financial advice. Yeah, none of this, obviously, guys. This is all what I do. I haven't lost any money, or I've done very well on some of these trades. But I've definitely left value on the table by not entering and or exiting on time. So that's just a learning process, So don't get too hard on yourself if you happen to have bought Bitcoin at $20,000. If you're still holding on, next year you may be pleasantly surprised. And that's an emotional characteristic that very few people have. And you should be commended for holding on to the things that you think are valuable, regardless of what other people tell you about them. I think we lose a lot of beautiful things in life because we underestimate how valuable they are to ourselves. And I know that is the fact for myself as well. Rory says, the best advice during a bear market is eat healthy and exercise. So that way, when you don't get your Lambo, or if you do get your Lambo someday, you won't be the fat guy in the Lambo, and you won't have wrecked your health on the way there. I fully agree with that. The sentiments of health and wealth and your wellness are extremely important. We try to work on that as often as possible. In the jungle, it's rather simple. Check. Okay, no, the audio is still working on this side. I don't know why there's difficulties for one of you. Okay, cool. Great. That was all the questions that you guys had asked. Oh, there's a last few here. Do you think Monero is a good buy? Monero has a lot of room for upside. I think the privacy token space in general with things like Cloakcoin could have a lot of room for upside. It really depends on the way the markets move. You got to remember that one of the use cases for this is getting your money out of the hands of tyrannical governments or tyrannical banks. And we've seen this time and time again in so many countries where the banks come in or the governments come in and they change the regulations, and now you either can't access your money, like we saw in Greece and Cyprus, Argentina, or Venezuela, where or even Turkey now, these emerging market currencies just get slaughtered and you're better off sitting. So I think one of the really unique parts here is that more than a currency, these are being looked at as stores of value, and that's what you want. You need a gold before you use a silver, and there's a reason for that. Is because most of the time, the majority of the world's market movements, like to get from one grocery store to another, those are large companies moving large amounts of money, and whether we like it or not, they've been successful in curating valuable business for people, right? There's a reason why people shop on Amazon. It's not because they're just a monopoly. They created that space by offering so much value to the community. So I think we choose the tokens that we want to use as our store of value, and then we believe in them based off those those sentiments. And that's extremely important because that's the only reason currency has any value. That's the only reason, is it because we believe them and have faith in them too. And it's the same with any of these technologies. If you remove us from the equation, Bitcoin isn't worth anything. The only reason any of these are worth anything is because to us, in our terms of perception, they hold a value of trust and transparency. And that in the human terms is astronomically powerful when you see how much deceit and corruption there is in the governments and the banks today. Will Bitcoin hit 5,000? I don't suspect so. Maybe I definitely have $5,500 on the next downturn, and you could see some panic selling maybe into $4,400. But that would be on a candle wick. I do suspect it would be hard to buy and or sell on any market unless it's extremely liquid, and most of them aren't. And if you do, you might be regretting it, because I suspect it would be less than 24 hours before it returned to some type of nominal level, especially with Bitcoin's mining costing between gear and electricity around that much to produce each Bitcoin. How do you feel about Pillar? I'm not sure. They're going to have to wait and see. But like I said, I left all of the other tokens around May. I left everything because I just once I felt we confirmed a bear trend in Bitcoin, I felt everything else was going to continue that bear trend market, and in larger terms, because they're not creating value the same way Bitcoin has been for over almost a decade now. Any thoughts on NEO? I do think NEO has a lot of room for upside, especially sitting at $15. But I haven't chose anything yet aside from Digibyte and Dash, because they're proof of work tokens. I may be looking to enter Litecoin again soon, but I do suspect there's a tiny bit more room of downside for Litecoin before I make that decision. What site do you use for trading? It depends on what token I'm looking at. So we'll go from there. Is it too late to turn LTC or BTC to others BTC? Again, I don't have advice for what it is you should do, but I can suggest that if you're doing something that you think is an emotional trade, that's probably not the best trade to make. You want to make trades that don't feel emotional, that feel logical. And I know that's hard to do. That's the direction we try to take. Unless you're asking what site do I use for looking at charts, I use TradingView. Nice. Roy is talking about NEO again. I agree. There's a lot of room for upside on NEO. Are you following the crypto remote viewing? It's a bit of fun. No, I don't follow. I watched some of JSnip's stuff. But I've studied too much in psychology to know how many cues we pick up on and then deliberately recreate for other people to think that it functions. But although I'm always happy to be wrong. I know when we had our chats with Thomas Campbell, them talking about their versions of remote viewing being successful. I'm always impressed by the results. Yet for me, I'm ultra skeptical. So unless I can try to prove it myself, I don't see proof yet. Other things in that area are like the whole Q movement is extremely fascinating to me. Not because even if it is have some sort of legitimacy to it, it's very scary because a lot of these people are blanket sentimenting, and that's always dangerous. It's always dangerous to blanket sentiment ideologues. Okay, that's how fascism and socialism destroy places. And so I steer clear of anything like that. So I'm not saying that the remote viewing has ideologues in it, but I think that a lot of those sentiments goes to be like, hey, we know better than you, and this gets this group of. Anyways, I haven't been watching too much of it. I don't want to talk too much about it too, because I don't know jack shit other than what the sentiments I get from PhDs. So I trust what Thomas Campbell says in their research and results, but as far as anyone else goes, I don't see any proof. But that's not to mean they're not correct. Like I said, none of what I offer is advice or anything to make bets off of. It's just what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So I don't know what that means. But I guess I would love to hear more. I'm always fascinated to learn and hear more. So maybe I'll look into it, so I don't sound like just a skeptic for no reason. Wonder if you're a beta tester for Pillar. I am not a beta tester for Pillar. No one asked me to be, and I also have lots of things to do. So. I don't know why I would add that to my plate. Can you do an update with Cliff High? I had actually had reached out to Cliff High, he said he'd get back to me. We tried to line up an interview once already. I'm a little upset that he doesn't want to jump online with me. I mean, every video we've made has well over 100,000 views, and I think we'd be able to do that again. I think that we have a good charisma, and for the most part, when I ask questions, I just let the guests answer. Although I have been trying more of a podcast format lately, where we can kind of rant and banter about stuff, because I do love what Joe Rogan does. I would love to have Cliff back on the show. So under that, I will reach out to him over the next week or two and see if he has any time to line up a show. How are the beautiful women from the earlier videos? They're all fantastic. Pamela and I are great friends. We stay in touch. I'm always excited to see what she's working on. I think it's just fascinating to see other people live their lives. I really appreciate doing that. Who else did we have on the show? We tried to get Naomi Brockwell on the show, but times got messed up. I actually don't know if I had too many other women. We had the CEO from Proppy, Natalia. We had Jessica Versteeg on at the very beginning of the show from Paragon Coin. And we didn't actually have her on the show. We saw her in London, technically. Let's see. I don't know. There's a lot of beautiful women working in the blockchain space. There's always been this conversation of, how do we get more women interested in tech? And I think the very obvious conversation is that women and men are interested in different things by general. And this is, obviously women have all the freedom and liberty to go join the MMA, but the number of them that do is still less than men that go fight in the MMA, and they have that freedom to do so, but less of them choose to. So I think that the women in tech, a lot of the times what we're seeing is women that are very interested in the social aspects of technology and what it can do for changing their particular business structure, which is often socially based as well. And without them, we would be nowhere, because men just like stuff. Stupid stuff is useless most of the time, except it makes a lot of the other things work. I think we do a really great job working together, and I've always thought embracing the differences of men and women was a smart way to go. So I appreciate that. Hopefully that no one finds it, because we fired people from Google for saying these exact sentiments. Is that biologically speaking, we're different, so generally speaking, we've aimed towards appreciating different things. I didn't fall off live, did I? No. Okay. Anyways, I don't want to talk about that too much, because someone's going to come out and give me shit for talking like that. And those are my sentiments, but nonetheless. Let's see. Macbeth says Cliff is recovering from surgery. There you go. Godspeed to Cliff. We wish him well then. Hope he's recovering quickly. Are you looking at new projects as well? We will be doing that more and more. Like I said in the mid-ground of this show, we're going to be looking to hire a writer. So we're going to do some sponsored content to help pay for these people. We want them to be able to put food on their table and have a value transfer, which is something that I was really missing with some of the other people that I hired. I won't even want to talk about it because it just made me upset. Rory says you'll have 100,000 subs in the next bull run. Thank you, Rory. I appreciate that. I would love to be able to grow this community with you guys. I know in the Telegram channel, you guys make a huge difference in helping educate each other and grow together. So I really appreciate that. The more people that join the Bear family, the more people that can help each other. And that's been one of the most positive sentiments I've seen from all this, is how much go out of your way to help each other. So with that in mind, give a thumbs up to all the other Bear family members that have been so helpful along the way in their comments, their reports, their sentiments. And you guys have been actually ahead of the curve, me a lot of the times, on upcoming projects in the Telegram channel. So make sure you check that out. Todd Mullis says you are so much better live, and drops a super chat there. Thank you for the extra tip. Again, all of this stuff just goes to help pay for website hosting, content creation. I'm trying to aim as whatever goes back into creating more value for the community at large. And I've stumbled along my way in doing that, having many ups and downs, so I apologize, but that's how it goes. We're going to stay focused on what's tangible now instead. Nice. Macbeth says, I'm a woman and I take no offense to anything you have said. Great. I appreciate that. I know it can very easily get taken out of context. Nice. C3 says, I can't do a super chat, but I digi-donated. Oh, cool. Digibyte is so fast nowadays. I'm not sure if I have my Digibyte wallet on hand here, but it's just incredibly fast. I love seeing the speed of some of these things. Let's see if it already arrived in the wallet. I'm sure it did. Oh, I don't even know what Digibyte wallet I have online. Oh yeah, holy. There you go. Look, C3. It took less than a few seconds. Just sent us a $31 tip or a thousand Digibyte, or a contribution. I guess it's not a tip; it's a contribution. That's a start of a good article right there. So again, this is very exciting for us to be able to dive back into trying to create as much value as possible for you guys. C3, I appreciate the support as well. Really cool to be able to show how quick some of these transaction speeds are. Digibyte arrived in seconds from the live stream to my wallet here. So very cool to see. Again, I don't normally do these live streams, let alone do them that long anymore. So I won't normally do this, but I wanted to make sure that Ask Me Anything portion of this episode was almost as long as possible. So I will run it another 9 minutes here, just because it's been so long, and I do love this stuff with you guys. Now that I have this setup here, and I know I'm going to be in Costa Rica for the next month, gardening, trying to get my hands dirty again, because I miss touching the earth and working with the ground. I'm going to leave this set up so I can do live streams. I'll try to actually do even one a day where I just answer questions, and then I'll try to stay on my one vlog a day about dropping out of school or whatever I see that's crazy in the markets, this kind of thing. And so again, thank you guys so much for going through this crazy process with me. I hope the audio sounds good. I'm gonna get myself a new microphone. This blue one is nice, but I think I want a nicer one. Hopefully we can. Let's take a look at more of these questions now. I'm done with that rant. Nice. Rory says, shout out to Chico Crypto. I appreciate Chico as well. We had an interview a few months ago. Great guy. As well as Richard Hart. They're great for digging into projects and a good TA. But Tio is up there with the best of them. Yeah, I appreciate that. I like both of those guys as well. Remember, there's a fantastic source of information. The best thing you can do is get as much information from as many different people, as many sources as possible, and make whatever you find there as your middle ground, because that's the best way to go, is have as many relevant sources of information as possible. So I agree with that. Put as many of them on the table and chop it up and see what you get. Chris Forex is spamming, so he gets a user timeout. What's a BitFi wallet? I have no idea what a BitFi wallet even is. Did you hear about Elastos? I have not heard about Elastos yet. Cryptos on the NASDAQ Q1 of next year. No, I wouldn't put cryptos on the NASDAQ yet, but that would be a massive price rise. Is the Digibyte wallet on our phone safe? I like the Digibyte wallet on my phone, although I don't use this as my primary Digibyte wallet. I have a few wallets on my phone that I use for traveling with small amounts, or for showing people how to use the things. Like, so if I'm at a cafe and someone, oddly enough, people have recognized me in the middle of nowhere. So we went yachting last week and I met Scott. So shout out to Scott. He'll know which Scott he is. And when we went yachting, he's like, oh, I've never, this is someone I've never met who's been, a fan of the channel and a Bear family member. And we get to meet in the middle of Costa Rica. So for some of the people that recognize me or are new to the ecosystem, I try to send them a little bit, get them to download a wallet. I should actually make more videos about me doing that, because it's kind of fun, but I often don't bring my camera with me either. So I don't use it as my main wallet, is all I'm trying to say. That's it. That's all I was trying to get out. Let's see. I'm just going to keep answering questions, or giving my opinion on the questions you guys ask, because these are not answers. These are just opinions. Let's make that clear. If you were to make a prediction on the next stock market crash, when do you think it would be? No Name asks. This is an odd question, and I really like it. The reason I like it is because I don't think we're actually going to see a stock market crash. I don't think that's going to be the leading blade that we start cutting with. I think because the proposition here is that the value of the dollar is dying, the stocks will actually go up, because you'll need more of that inflated dollar to buy the value of the underlying company. Now, let's for instance say Arcane Bear was a company. Now, our value for the community, regardless of our stock price. If the dollars become value because the change owns all of its assets, it's still paying all of its employees, and I think this will be, there are times where we oh no. I seem to be blinking off and on the stream speed. Let's see if I can fix that. Hopefully the audio didn't cut out. I'm gonna get to cutting the show a little shorter because I do seem to be flickering in and out of a strong stream signal. Which is fair, but I don't want it to flicker out for you guys. So I do suspect the stock market will actually continue to go up based off the descending value of the emerging market dollars at first, then followed probably fairly abruptly by multiple banks in the United States deciding to crash and drop out from there too. So I see that the stream is kind of breaking up. But everyone's saying it looks fine, so I'll continue to going. I'll continue to keep going. If it does start to break up, if you guys can please tell me, that would be great. Tio, I wonder if Diplo realizes his doppelganger is Tio and they both love Bitcoin. I would love to have Diplo on the show too, by the way. So if any of you happen to be friends with him, that would be great. I enjoy that Oh. Okay, well, if I wasn't offline before, I probably am now. Let's see. The electricity just flickered in and out. Let's see if I'm still online for a second. Okay, I'm gonna because the internet's bumped the electricity seconds. If I get cut off, I'm gonna right now. Thank you guys for last time. Remember to give us those thumbs up. Join the Telegram channel. Subscribe. Check out arcanebear.com. We do have swag for sale in the store, and then which will be great. If you're interested in any of the Arcane Bear t-shirts or cups or anything like that, do jump online, check it out. You can pay via dollars. Any of this, I plug, and I can just answer some questions here. Let's take a look. Graveyard says, met up with you in Guatemala and you turned me on to Bitcoin. Cheers from France. Nice. In Guatemala, the last time I was in Guatemala was probably a year or two ago as well. So hopefully you got in a great price there, Graveyard. That's very exciting. I'm glad to know that the people that I've met before we started the Arcane Bear channel actually ended up joining in as well. That's super exciting. I have no idea what ARB is, so I can't give my opinions on it. At Chris says 100%. Let's see. Have you heard of or used Safe Ledger? No, I've never heard of it or used it. Neither of those. Do you think the dollar will go down before the pound or euro? Oddly enough, C3, I do think that the pound will likely fall again before the dollar. The reason being is because you have so many micro economies, and if one of them crashes, it could bring the whole house of cards down on that side a lot easier. Whereas the micro economies of each individual state doesn't really fluctuate the same as an individual company, etc. Or sorry, as an individual country. So I do suspect the pound will go down before the dollar. Anyways. There was a tiny blip in the stream there, but it came back. Nice. I'm glad. Will they allow money to come from crypto? I don't know what that question means exactly. Anyways, we're gonna cut the stream there. We've gone into a 50-minute stream. This is one of the longest live streams we've done in the last 6 months. It is the longest live stream we've done in the last 6 months. Thank you guys so much. Wendell says, store all your ledgers in privates, passwords, keys safe. Keep everything safe. I agree with that sentiment. Do your best to minimize theft. Buy brand new wallets, whether they're Ledger or Trezor. If you go to arcanebear.com, you can read our reviews on them. They are a direct link to Ledger or Trezor.com. Do not buy from any third-party affiliate websites. That is my suggestion. Even if they say they're new, I don't care. Buy them directly from the source. It's just a safer way to go. And then from there, just common sense. You are in charge of your bank now. That's one of the greatest things about all this whole new world, is that we're in charge of our own finances, and we haven't had that for a long time. So extremely exciting. Thank you guys for joining us today. I will try to do live streams more often where we go into this long form content together. I really appreciate all the support. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Steal with the Arcane Bear. We'll see you guys on the other side.